Hey guys, it's Catherine Morgan here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Now this channel is here to bring you short but powerful videos to help you to navigate both the emotional side of money, our relationship with money, and the practical steps to help you to reduce financial anxiety and become more financially empowered to deserve wealth, grow wealth, and create wealth. My name's Catherine and I'm a qualified financial planner and international multi-award winning financial coach. That's a bit of a mouthful. So welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button and do leave me a comment below and let me know what was your biggest takeaway from listening to this video. Speak to you soon. Hi guys, it's Catherine here from the Money Panel, and today I wanted to talk to you about 3 cracking business books that I would recommend that you read over the summer for those of you that are booking holidays or time away, that you can read over the summer that are really going to help you if you're a woman in business. Now, this question actually came up in my Money Circle membership this week, and I actually went through 10 of my top business books, but I'm just going to choose 3 of my favourite ones today. And let me know in the comments whether you've read any of these. So the first one is a must for anybody in business, and that's this one here, Profit First. Let me know in the comments whether you've read Profit First. Now, I can never pronounce his surname, Mike Michalowicz, whatever that is. But as you can see, I've read this book twice and I've bookmarked. These are great little sticky tabs you can get, by the way, for books. But I bookmarked the hell out of it. There's so many good things in here. Now, the concepts of Profit First are essentially about paying yourself first. Now, I don't know about you, but when you're running a business, one of the key reasons why you're generating this business is to generate income so you can pay yourself first. Because otherwise, if you're not paying yourself first, it's not really a business. And so the principles behind Profit First is that you have multiple pots. And this actually comes from the concept of Parkinson's law or mental accounting, which many of you would have heard me talk about time and time again, because I'm a massive lover of Stylist. And this kind of concept really works well with the Profit First model. So the concept behind Profit First is that you have lots of pots set up for specific purposes. So if you're running a business, for example, you'd have a tax pot, a VAT pot if you're VAT registered, you'd have a profit pot, and you'd have an operating expenses, or what Mike refers to as an OPEX account, operating expenses account. So with my business account, I have my main account with styling. So all of my direct debits come out of there, all of my income and my sales go into that main account, and then I divvy money up into different pots. Now I do this on a very regular basis. I do this almost every day, just because I like getting into that habit. But the timeframes that Mike recommends in the book are very different. It is a US-based book, so some of it you have to kind of tweak for the UK market. So Mike doesn't talk about a VAT pot, for example, because there's no VAT in the US. So you have to kind of tweak it for a UK market. But the principles about having smaller plates, which is one of the concepts he talks about, mental accounting, about mentally putting aside and parking money for different purposes, is really, really powerful. One of the things that I learned very early on in my business, hello. One of the things that I learned very early in my business is about, I hear a lot about women in business who say, I had my first 12 months in business and then I was hit with a tax bill and I didn't have the money to pay for it.
What do you mean you got hit by a taxi?
Not a taxi, a tax bill. So
you got hit by a tax bill, you banged your head on it.
There you go. So Profit First is a really, really good book. I would strongly recommend. That's book number 1. So let me know in the comments whether you've read Profit First. Are you implementing Profit First in your business? If you're in my Money Circle membership, we have a whole training masterclass on this subject. The second book that I would recommend is this one here called Life Leverage by Rob Moore. So for those of you that follow me and have followed me for a while, he is a cutie, Tasneem, but not so cute when he's interrupting me on Facebook Lives. He often joins me. You're used to him by now. So Life Leverage is Rob Moore. So Rob Moore is a multimillionaire, property investor, has an empire. I'm in his sales and marketing program. And Life Leverage was recommended to me when I first joined his mentoring program, when he said to me, Catherine, you need to outsource and work with a VA. And I was like, no, but I don't have enough money in my business to outsource. And he was like, read the book, because you'll learn that basically you'll want to outsource sooner than you actually believe that you're ready. And he was spot on. And when I outsourced, my business went from £3,000 or £4,000 per month to over £10,000 per month in revenue, because I was spending a lot of my time doing things that were time consuming but not income generating, not revenue generating. So it's a fantastic book. Again, as you can see, I've bookmarked this too with some of the top tips that I really enjoy. So definitely 100%, if you haven't read this one, Life Leverage. And again, if you want to listen to the principles of Life Leverage, then we also have a podcast episode with Rob Moore. Back in series 3, I think we interviewed Rob. So again, that's one to check out. That's book number 2. Let me know in the comments if you've read that one. Yeah, and Gemma, I love Profit First too. It's amazing. So book number 3 then, the final one, is Key Person of Influence. Now, Daniel Priestley, I met Daniel last year at a conference. He is terrific. And this book is a game changer. Not just this book, he's also got a few other books, but 24 Assets, the number 24 Assets, is another book I would really recommend. I don't have that to show you because I've lent it to a friend. But this really talks about, in fact, this is I even got a signed copy. This talks about the power of getting visible, talking about your mission and your purpose. He talks about the 5 key outcomes of a key person of influence, and it's really, really, really great book. I think it took me about 2 days to whip through this. It's got some good little exercises in it. It talks about pitching, publishing, looking at your products. It's just fabulous. This is actually the second copy I've got of this one. So Key Person of Influence, this will talk you through Daniel's 5-step method to becoming essentially high valued and that go-to expert, so that when people think of something like money, they'll be like, oh yes, you need to go and see Catherine. And so you want to be known as that go-to expert in your industry. Yeah, Rob is fabulous, Gemma. Yeah, with the VA, you still provide the person. Thank you, Tessie. So I mean, there's certain things I don't outsource. So I don't outsource my social media. I don't outsource, this kind of work. What I do outsource is some of the repurposing of my content, for example. So if I do a podcast episode, then my VA will take that podcast episode and she will turn it into a blog. And she might create me some social media images that then she pops into a Dropbox folder, and then I use them to put on my social media accounts. So I do all of my social media. I don't think I'd ever outsource that, actually, interestingly, because it's my voice. So it's very difficult for somebody to replicate your voice. But a VA, absolutely. I've got, in fact, I'm just about to take on my 4th VA now in my business. I wouldn't be able to grow and scale my business if I didn't have other people in my team. And that's one of the messages in Life Leverage. It is about, you've got to leverage your time, because time is money and you can't buy more time. Time is one of the things that you can't buy more of. So it is about outsourcing, and actually outsourcing probably before you even feel ready. So those are my top 3 book recommendations. So that was Profit First, Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley, and Life Leverage by Rob Moore. So all of these you can get further information about on my podcast. In fact, actually, I haven't done a podcast yet with Daniel Priestley. I must reach out to him. But Life Leverage, Rob Moore, and the Profit First model, I've done podcast episodes on both of those. So that was it. That was my top 3 book recommendations for you. Let me know what your book recommendations are. I'd love to maybe add a few on my own wish list for this summer. So I think I've got a pile of about 11 so far to read on my holiday this year, which I'm very much looking forward to. Does anyone else do that? They just book a holiday so you can just sit on a sunbed and read. Is it just me? It's one of the things I just look forward to the most, just lying in the sun, the kids are playing in the pool, and I can just read my books. It's one of my favourite times of the year. And yeah, boundary strengthening is... it's a tricky one, Gemma, and I'll share an exercise actually later in the week in my group on Friday night. So those of you who aren't in my free group, come into my free group. Every Friday I show up at 6 o'clock and we have a money date in there. We talk about certain topics. I'm going to be talking about profit first actually on Friday, but we can talk about boundaries as well, Gemma, because boundary setting is really, really important. We have to know, what do you need to have in place to protect your boundaries, to protect your well-being, physically, mentally, financially, all of those well-beings. We need to be really clear on what that looks like, so that when somebody asks some of that time, we're clear on when do we say yes, when do we say no, and when do we maybe just say not right now. Yeah, audiobooks are a great one. How would you recommend how to get more reading done? Oh, good question, Tasneem. So I sometimes struggle with this, I must admit. I have loads of books and then I struggle to actually read them. And it's the same with anything. It's about prioritising and motivation. But if you want to create a new habit, you've got to create a cue. You've got to create a reason and a purpose, and you've got to try and embed it to something that you already do. There's a little tip for you. So if, for example, you religiously every morning you get up and you make a cup of tea, go and put a sticky note or something by your kettle that says, spend 5 minutes reading a book. And it's the small steps to get started. So don't set yourself a massive mammoth challenge like, I want to read this book this week. Go and set yourself a smaller challenge like, spend 5 minutes every day reading. So you'll get into that routine, into that pattern, into that habit. That's the most important thing. Then the more you do it, the more motivated you are. And then you start to create that cue. So automatically you don't even have to think about it because you're self-motivated. So think of something that you do every single day that you're already doing without even thinking about it. Brushing your teeth, drying your hair, putting the kettle on in the morning, and put a sticky note or a prompt to remind you of what you want to do. What's the action? What's the new habit you want to form? And then just get started. And if you don't do it after that, generally speaking, it's because it's not motivating enough. So you don't feel motivated to do it, in which case it's probably not the right habits for you to have in the first place. So that would be my tip, Tasneem, would be set yourself a small habit change, like 5 minutes a day. Say it out loud, write it down, commit it. Tell somebody you're going to do it can also be helpful. So come into the group and say, I'm going to dedicate 5 minutes a day. Is there anybody else that wants to do the same? You can maybe find an accountability partner. But I always think if you're motivated enough to do it, you'll do it anyway. Yeah, physical book reading. Blinkist is good. So Blinkist is a little app you can download and it gives you like a summary of a book before you decide to purchase it. I had Blinkist last year. I just didn't really use it because I love, there's something about having a physical book in your hand. Does anyone else feel like that? Even just the smell of a book, I just love it. So, and I can bookmark it, I can refer back to it. There are some books that are better on audio, and if you're a regular walker, audiobooks are great. But I tend to listen to podcasts if I'm out and about and walking or I'm driving. I'll listen to a podcast and I'll read a book when I've got physical time and I've got it in my hands. So yes, that would be, but that's what works for me. It might be completely different for you, but definitely play around with them. Audible is a great way to consume books on audio. And the great thing about Audible as well is if you subscribe, you get credits per month that you can use against book purchases. If you don't like the book, you can swap it. You can also pause the membership, by the way. So if you've got an Audible account, little money saving tip, you can pause your subscription, still have access to the books that you've already purchased, but not pay a monthly subscription for a few months. So this is great if you've got Audible already and you're just playing catch up all the time and you keep using your credits to download books but you're not getting a chance to read them. Then just pause your membership. You can go into your app, request to pause it, get a 3-month payment break, and then maybe post summer once you've caught up with all your purchases, you can try again. Yeah, oh, thank you, Tasneem. Yeah, podcasts. I love listening to podcasts whilst I'm walking and exercising. It's a good way to leverage your time as well. This is one of the things that Rob talks about in his Life Leverage book. This is one of my recommendations. Is, think about what you're doing with your time. Could you be doing a Facebook Live while you're doing a walk? Could you be, press record on your phone and put some ideas about some content creation whilst you're doing something else? So it's kind of multitasking, but you're just leveraging your time. One of the things that Rob talks about in his book is that if he goes to an event or he's going anywhere, he'll get a taxi so he can do work in the back of the car. Now that may seem like a bit of an extravagant thing to do because you've got to pay the cost of the taxi. But in his mind, he's like, if it's a 2-hour trip that will cost me, I don't know, 50 quid, I can get more than £50 worth of work done in the back of the car versus driving myself. So there's lots of ways to leverage time. Yeah, it's a great one, Vicky. Go and do that with Audible. Just pause your membership. I think you have to do it on the website. I'm not sure you can do it from the app itself, but I did it recently, so definitely worth looking at. Yeah, and podcasts on long journeys home are a great way to just consume whilst you're doing something else. So I hope you enjoyed those book recommendations. Let me know which ones you've read, which ones you haven't, and share with us which ones you have read that have helped you to grow your business. And I'll speak to you all again soon. And remember, it's the small steps, big wins. Take care. Bye. Thanks so much for listening, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do me a big favour and leave me a comment below this video and let me know, what was your one biggest takeaway? What are you going to do differently as a result of watching today's video? Now, you can go ahead and check out more free resources available to you at the website, which is themoneypanel.co.uk, or please feel free to tune into our weekly podcast on all of the typical podcast channels. That's In Her Financial Shoes. And remember, small steps, big wins. Let's go.